safe as you visit Kenya's magnificent beaches. Holidays can be short, don't make life that short. Kenya Maritime Authority ensures your safety in the Kenyan waters. Are you playing your part? Wear your life jacket before going on board. Keep a close watch on children when swimming. Do not stand. Refuse to board a full boat. Stay away from the waters if you're drinking alcohol. Holidays are fun, but don't make it this the last time you enjoy. Kenya Maritime Authority ensures your safety in water. Our call and rescue center is open 24 hours. In case of emergencies, call.
Build them a house that years can't touch. Build them a home that makes them feel safe and loved. Build them a house that lives up to your dreams. When you build a home, build it with Nguvu cement from Bamburi. That is reliable and trusted to build durable structures. Because homes are built to last forever.
Awesome! Brought to you by Kenya Engineer, Kenya Maritime Authority and Bamburi Cement. Awesome! Everything around you has been engineered. Are you tired of reading sensational news items on government contracts? You know, the propaganda type of I don't know what the bank has given some billions to some road projects. You know what I'm talking about. Are you in need of in-depth analysis of how engineering has influenced Kenya, or rather revolutionized humanity? And of course, you've heard about the Malaysias, the Singapores, the tattoo cities. Do you want to know the story behind the tragedies, collapsed buildings, or know the mightier power in those Kawasaki engines? Or passionate about technology and innovation, the iWatch thing, the Akina CGR, the Storos, how can railway be standard and have gauges? Or are you looking for tenders, engineering jobs, suppliers? Then join the Kenya engineering community. Get a copy by dialing 0719-207712 or join the Kenya Engineer online community www.kenyaengineer.co.ke. Kenya engineers explores hydro fields, mountainous regions with geothermal steam, expansive deserts with oil deposits to power this country. It's really a battle of nature by human beings. Did you know that wood and charcoal provide 72% of total primary energy in Kenya? Or rather, geothermal and hydropower only contribute to 8% of the total primary energy. 80% of the total population in Kenya use wood and charcoal for cooking. That's not awesome. Thermal energy, the most expensive and environmentally harmful, contributes 32% of Kenya's electricity. The power sector still suffers from unreliable, poor quality supply and a high cost of electricity. This is despite that from time to time, the Kenyan government has intervened directly or indirectly.
We're basically looking at this power coming from geothermal, coming from the traditional hydro. We're now looking at doing a bit of LNG. This is a liquefied natural gas. We're looking at a bit coming from coal because we have our own coal reserves in the Kitui area.
The reason for this unsatisfactory performance have very little to do with high voltage growth, inadequate generation capacity, or even the poor hydrology. To correct this and prevent future problems, Kenya must tackle institutional, implementation and of course rethink of an alternative path where the energy peaks are driven by industrial power consumption and not domestic power consumption. Lack of sufficient clean energy is a slow death to humanity because we'll be forced to rely on the harmful processes of energy production that deplete our environment. Production and consumption of energy has a direct effect on a country's economy, and Kenya is no exception. Thousands of domestic users and industries rely on energy for their production processes, and power failure is translated into losses and human suffering. The question then would be, what makes the energy cost high?
Geothermal costs about 7 to 8 US cents per kilowatt hour. Power from a diesel plant costs about 22 to 25 US cents per kilowatt hour.
Energy cost or pricing is determined by the expense incurred when the power is produced at the plant. For example, if we take a hydropower plant, the amount of investment on the machinery used in the plant, availability of resources, in this case water, and expertise involved is also translated into production cost. The more expensive the production process, the higher the consumer will pay. Energy production and consumption in Kenya, though still having a long way to go, has experienced some significant improvement. In this episode, Awesome tracks development of the energy sector, giving you an in-depth description of energy usage and production in Kenya.
Because the ship is divided into two areas. That is the machinery part of it, that's for the marine engineering. But then we also have the navigation. That's where we call, the people call deck officers, and they're the ones we ordinarily call ship captains.
In engineering, the power rating of a device is a guideline set by the manufacturer as a maximum power to be used with the device. This limit is usually set somewhat lower than the level where the device will be damaged to allow a margin of safety. Let us look at the ship power rating, also known as the energy or power shots. Ship owners prefer single engine for energy efficiency. Let's look at the most powerful diesel engine in the world. If the 7 wonders of the world was updated for the 21st century, the Wasila Sulza RTA 96-C turbocharged 2-stroke diesel engine could be a contender. I hope that didn't hurt your brain a bit if you are a student of the internal combustion engine in all its wondrous configurations. Then feast your eyes on this set of numbers which outline the truly astounding engineering feat. It is the most powerful and most efficient engine in the world today. For example, a cement manufacturing company is considered the biggest power consumer. According to experts in this sector, the energy costs of cement company would run into millions of shillings per year. In order for such a company to make any profits, the energy costs are factored into the production cost. What this means is that the production cost will be higher because the company incurred a lot of expenses in regard to power consumed. If the production cost is high, then automatically the end product, in this case cement, will be costly to the consumer. What this means is that the more the expenses at production stage, the higher the prices of goods and services.
Bamburi Cement is one of the largest consumers of power, specifically electricity, in this country. Between our two plants, the one in Mombasa and the one in Athi River, we consume in excess of 170 million units of electricity every year. This translates to more than 2 billion Kenya shillings that we pay in our electricity bills to the Kenya Power Company. Energy costs is a great component of our production cost, accounting for about 30% of our total production costs. They impact quite significantly into our production costs. Currently, the government has increased the proportion of geothermal generation of electricity, meaning that the cost of electricity has been coming down.
Kenya's population relies on different forms of energy, both at a domestic and industrial levels. In the early 90s, a majority of the country's population relied on basic forms of energy like wood. Although this can still be seen in rural areas, the need for efficiency and environment-friendly energy consumption has pushed the government and other stakeholders to ensure availability of electricity in the entire country. The demand for electricity has increased. In 2002, estimates showed that Kenya's power demand was standing at 1,191 megawatts. This demand will hit 2,500 megawatts by end of 2015. Power demand in Kenya is increasing at a rate of 7% per annum. With such an increase, engineers now say power demand will hit 15,000 megawatts by 2030. To be able to meet this increasing energy demand, there is a need to have a constant and reliable supply of energy. This calls for effective infrastructure that allows for timely policy formation and implementation. In Kenya, the energy sector has undergone structure changes in an effort to stabilize energy provision. In 1975, a committee for energy policy and resources was set up by the National Council of Science and Technology. This committee was to draft policy proposals, advise the government of problems facing energy policy, and was the focal point for any issue related to energy. In mid-1979, the committee recommended that an energy department be set up in the Ministry of Power and Communication. This department would serve as an executive in dealing with energy issues. In 1983, the Ministry of Energy Regional Development was formed. The roles of the Ministry of Energy include development in energy policy, hydropower, geothermal exploration, thermal power, petroleum product, fossil fuels, and renewable energy. It is also in charge of energy regulation, security, and conservation. Energy supply in Kenya is yet to meet the demand. Production of energy involves turning mechanical energy into electrical energy. Today, at least 60% of Kenya's energy source is from hydropower plants. Hydropower production relies on water to drive turbines and generators to run. Kenya has major hydropower plants built along the Tana River. The main ones being Masinga, Kamburu, Kiambere, Kindaruma, and Gitaru. Research conducted by engineers indicate that the total hydropower potential in Kenya stands at 5,500 megawatts, although the installed capacity is just below 800 megawatts. This has resulted to increased power shortages and an over-reliance on hydropower. In the years, hydropower supply has become inconsistent and unreliable due to erratic weather conditions that have seen reduced rainfall. Thermal energy contributes 32% of Kenya's electricity. It is considered the most expensive and harsh form of power production because it relies on the use of fossil fuel to generate its power. This mode of power production has been used in Kenya for years as a backup when the hydropower plants have failed to achieve their capacity. The reliance on thermal power plants has always seen a shot in power bills because of the high production cost. With such power deficits, engineers have been at work researching, testing, and implementing new forms of energy to be able to meet these demands. With over 200,000 consumers being connected to the national grid every year, the increase in cost production, the engineer had to think and act very fast. It was time to introduce new forms of energy, hence the thought of tidal energy and the extreme thoughts of nuclear power. In the second part of this episode, we discuss new forms of energy that are boosting Kenya's power supply. Are they helping? Is the demand manageable? Geothermal power supply is preferred because engineers have affirmed that it is less costly and more environment friendly. The process of geothermal power production begins with identification of potential geothermal sources. Engineers do this through feasibility studies to determine the actual existence of this potential and approximate capacity, once the feasibility studies have been conducted and approved. The generation of geothermal power relies on natural processes that occur within the surface of the earth.
Carrier 4, which is 140 megawatts, and this is a milestone in this country. It's one of the biggest geothermal power plants in Africa, and even in the world.
When it rains, rainwater seeps into the earth. After many years, the water collects underground. A geothermal reservoir is formed when this trapped water comes into contact with the heat at the Earth's core. This heat is in a position to heat water to temperatures of 700 degrees. Once the engineers have determined that there is a potential geothermal reservoir, designs are done on how to install drills to tap this water. Power plant need steam to run turbines used to generate the power, while other production methods like thermal energy production will require the water to be heated using coal or fossils. Geothermal energy presents us with ready steam, and all that is required is for this steam to be tapped. In Kenya, engineers have installed advanced air-cooled power plant technology that is able not only to maximize the geothermal resource, ensuring high energy output, but can also extract the energy and the cooled waters that are injected back into the reservoir. Through this process, the resource cannot be replenished and power can be produced from the same point for many years.
Well, geothermal is a capital-intensive investment upfront. You have to identify the resource. You have to drill using rigs similar to those that drill for oil. You then evaluate the resource and match your plant to the resource to extract the energy and generate electricity. There are 2 or 3 different types of technologies used. One of them is the steam turbines that are currently in use at KenGen. The other is what we use here, which are binary units, basically transferring heat from even resources that have very low temperatures. The binary process that we use utilizes the heat content of the resource, and you can actually design it to fit the resource. It's modular, so if your resource is weak, you can actually have a small plant. All you need to do is to extract the resource, which can be as low as about 100 degrees centigrade, take it through heat exchangers, and extract that heat to a second medium, which we call a hydrocarbon. In this case here, we are using pentane, and the pentane is the one that rotates the turbine.
Kenya has a geothermal potential estimated at 10,000 megawatts, with the Rift Valley alone having a potential of 1,250 megawatts. The main geothermal power plants are Olkaria 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. After about 20 years of exploration, the discovery of oil in the country was received with a lot of expectation on the growth of the economy. This was in Turkana at the Ngamia 1 drilling site. So far, about 120 meters of oil reservoir has been discovered by the Talo All British Farm after drilling up to 1,515 meters. Apart from Turkana, 45 oil exploration blocks in the country have already been allocated to oil exploration companies. The quest for clean energy has seen an increase in clean energy, namely solar and wind energy. Kenyans are embracing alternative sources of energy like biofuels, solar and wind energy. Biogas as a renewable energy source is gaining popularity not only for farmers but also households seeking better energy sources. KenGen established a wind energy plant at the Ngong Hills with a capacity of 5.1 megawatts and consists of 6 wind turbines. Solar energy in Kenya is also gaining its capacity, with many considering it as a cheaper option, especially for home use. Companies in Kenya have invested in solar panels that are affordable and accessible for both industrial and domestic use. Kenya's Visions 2030 calls for massive development in sectors controlling the economy like industrialization. It also calls for an improved human life governed by accessibility and affordability of goods and services. This cannot be achieved if the energy supply remains low and the energy costs remain high. Therefore, the engineers are focusing more on increasing the supply and reducing the cost of energy production. By September 2012, the total number of people connected with electricity was about 2.1 million. This is a major rise from a dismal 686,195 people in 2003. The Rural Electrification Program aims at providing electricity for 25,508 public institutions, among them secondary schools, health centers and trading centers. Electrification extends a hand in reducing crime activities, elongating the working hours of business people, better hospital facilities which create efficient results like x-rays and breathing machines. All these aspects are required for any nation to grow and be developed. Kenya engineers have therefore a hard but achievable task ahead of them, considering all the projects underway in the country. Vision 2030 has recognized energy as the key enabler in economic growth. With all planned development, it is expected that the current demand will reach 15,000 megawatts by 2030. To meet this demand, the engineers are needed in designing and construction of infrastructure for energy, exploration and development. The engineer is also coming up with new machinery, making better versions of the existing ones and maintaining of the machinery. Designing them in a better way will make the energy not only reach the consumer in the right voltage, but also on time. After coming up with renewable energy options, the engineers are still exploring more resources to ensure Kenyans have reliable electricity. This will be much appreciated considering the many blackouts we experience. Engineers are also coming up with modes of energy conservation for future use. This many Kenyans have already embraced. The engineer is improving existing processes so that producing energy may be cheaper. If the production cost is lowered, the cost of transfer of the energy to the consumer will also be cheaper. Measures to regulate this may be challenging, but industries have found a way of reducing their energy consumption. They will still get maximum produce, only they will not waste the available resources. It is upon the consumer to properly manage their energy use. The most important thing is that these projects are implemented by the engineers. The innovations need to be tested to know their applicability and their sustainability. If engineers won't do this, then the consumers will never get to have alternative means of energy that produce maximum results, but at the same time sensitive to the environment. In our next episode, we look at agriculture in Kenya. Join us next week and find out how engineers are ensuring that agricultural systems are functioning, making us a productive country and adding to our food security.
Build them a house that years can't touch. Build them a home that makes them feel safe and loved. Build them a house that lives up to your dreams. When you build a home, build it with Nguvu cement from Bamburi. That is reliable and trusted to build durable structures. Because homes are built to last forever.
Stay safe as you visit Kenya's magnificent beaches. Holidays can be short, don't make life that short. Kenya Maritime Authority ensures your safety in the Kenyan waters. Are you playing your part? Wear your life jacket before going on board. Keep a close watch on children when swimming. Do not stand. Refuse to board a full boat. Stay away from the waters if you're drinking alcohol. Holidays are fun, but don't make it this the last time you enjoy. Kenya Maritime Authority ensures your safety in water. Our call and rescue center is open 24 hours. In case of emergencies, call